Hello. So this is going to be a presentation on dealing with unbalanced data in machine learning. So in this presentation, I'm going to be using a timber quality classification data set that ranks the quality of a spruce tree timber with bad, good, and excellent quality. They're going to be ranked over 11 features, which I'll be showing you in the next slide. And during this During these slides, I'm going to have two methods of how we can deal with this unbalanced data, and there will also be MATLAB code to accompany the examples. Okay, so just to get us started, what is unbalanced data? So unbalanced data is when a class is not equally represented, where one class could be dominating a whole data set. So what we can see here in this tree quality data set is I have a bar chart that shows the quality and the number of samples. And what you can see from it is that the good completely dominates out of the three qualities we have, it dominates by a lot. And I know I haven't mentioned it, but the bad quality is ranked from 1 to 4, good is 5 to 6, and then excellent is 7 to 10. And you can see that the good quality is completely dominating there. And also I have the table below here, and we can see our 11 features such as the maturity, stomata, leaf moisture, leaf spread. And yeah, this is a common problem that we can see in the real world. Another example of this I've seen is in spam emails, and that's what we can use it in. So it's a good question to ask. Why is unbalanced data a problem here? So, well, it's a problem because most machine learning algorithms assume a balanced data set. So if the data is not balanced, the model can become like pretty biased towards some parts of the data, such as the majority data, which is the good samples in our case. Um, so I'm gonna play a video just demonstrating what the effect of the unbalanced data on our tree quality data set will look like. So I'm just going through the code. You can pause it at any time, but this is the code that I use to separate my training and targets so that when I'm testing, I have a good metric to measure off and something real. So this is the code here, the no change. I'll demonstrate how the code or what the code is going to do here. So we can see that we got a correct bad of 0, correct good of 94%, and a correct excellent of 36%. So the overall accuracy was 43%. But you just saw that we got none of the bad samples correct, and we got a very small portion of the excellent samples correct, and the good samples completely dominated the result here. And this kind of shows how the unbalanced data is making the accuracy a little bit misleading. I mean, when I graded this, it was based on the mean of the results, so it's a little bit more accurately based. But if you were to grade it based on the number of samples you got correct over the total number of samples, you get probably around 70% here, which isn't correct at all. We can even see just from our confusion matrices here that during the training phase, the good, the bad, there was nothing correct, and the good got a small minority. Sorry, the good got the majority, and the excellent got a small minority there at 9.5%. So as I mentioned at the beginning, I'm going to go through two methods. So the two methods are weighted bias and SMOTE, a synthetic minority oversampling technique. So I'm going to go on to the SMOTE first. So usually we use machine learning because we don't know the relationship between some data. For example, in this tree quality data set, we have no idea how the tree is actually graded. We've just been given data and we've been told that these 11 features are influencing how the quality is affected. But in reality, this data set was actually graded by a professional and they were able to grade each feature and then give it a quality result based on their experience. So there's no real formula for us to know how the quality of the tree is going to be graded. So basically, we're going to use machine learning to find the outcome using patterns that the hopefully the neural network will find for us. And what we're doing is just giving it data. So basically, in this method, what we're trying to do is create synthetic samples. And I've shown here a 2D plot of just between two features. But in reality, we're going to be looking through 11 features, but we can't visualize that. So that's why we're just in the 2D world here. I'm just going to show it in 3D as well, just as another example. But this is kind of what like the data will look like, just scattered in an area and between the features. So we're going to stick to the 2D world here. I'm going to show you how the SMOTE function works. And basically, there's a k value. And this k value, what it does is it tells you the number of neighbors that you're going to randomly choose from a certain data point. So going on to the example here. So say we choose this data point within our data, and we've chosen a k value of 3. These are the three nearest k values, or the three nearest neighbors. And what the SMOTE function does now is it's gonna choose one of these neighbors at random to relate to the most for when we're making our feature or our synthesized sample. So say we choose this sample here. Now what we've got to do is using our line equation here, we want to find the distance between these two lines. And well, we have found the distance between the two lines before because that's how it finds the nearest neighbor, but we want to find a point between these 2 points, sorry, a point between these 2 points on the line that will relate to the 2 points, if that makes sense. So basically what's going to happen now is we're going to randomly select a point along this line that where we want our synthesized sample. So if you can see that orange point that I've put on a line between the two red points here, we can vary it from 0.1 to 0.9 depending on how much we want to relate it to that sample, but usually this is done random. So as a result of using our synthetic minority oversampling technique, from the plot, we now have all our randomly sampled points that are going to be used in our new data set. So I'm just going to, before I play a video on using the SMOTE function in MATLAB, I just want to show you where I got the function from, and you can find it on MATLAB for free and you can download it. So this will be the video. I'm just briefly going again over how I separated the training and targets here. And then I'm just going to show you the SMOTE function that I downloaded from MATLAB. So there's a lot of instructions that come with it as well, so it's quite helpful. And then I'm going to show you how I coded it. So you can just see the SMOTE function there briefly near the top. And I chose a nearest neighbor of k is equal to 5 that you can see here. Right, so you can see that I balanced all the data sets to 2461, and then we also got a bad accuracy of 73%, good 24%, and excellent accuracy 84%, and an overall accuracy of 60%. So although the classes aren't completely balanced, you can see that we've improved the overall accuracy of the model. So before we move on, I'm going to just I'll be showing you another video on using weighted bias, and I think the video there's a dialogue in the video has sound, so I think I describe it better in that. But here are some of the points that we'll actually see when we train our network, especially the one that assigns a higher importance to the minority class samples. So yeah, just the first part here is kind of just this section separating the training and testing samples, and then into the start of the weighting biases. So first here, this section counts how many of the training samples are in each class. So then I turn those counts into weights. So rare classes get a bigger weight, and then I also apply a small extra boost to the bad class, so it matters more during the training phase. Now we're going to go into the training of the network. So sorry, I actually meant to not need to talk about here. So converting the class weights before the training. So we've got to convert the class weights into the sample weights. I'll find which class each training sample belongs to and assign it to the matching weight. So this gives one weight per training sample. Now to the training phase. I need to pass in the sample weights as a parameter. So the training validation parts, the key line is the training call. So I pass in the sample weights, so minority classes errors have a bigger effect during learning. So basically, if it gets it wrong, they'll get a larger penalty. And then finally, just kind of the predictions here. So after training, I run the training network on the test inputs to get predictions. And I'm just going to run it here, and you'll see so we'll see the assigned weights here. Okay, and you can see that we're getting a better result out. So the accuracy is 56% compared to what it was like 45% or something. The good accuracy is down a lot. So the weighting needs to be tuned, but you can see just from this example what the effect is. So I noticed there's a small error at the end of that code, and basically what that overall accuracy is calculating is the number of correct over the number of incorrect. So that kind of means that there's a lot more samples in the good data, and the good data in that example didn't really perform quite well. So basically the percentage correct would be a lot smaller just because of the amount of samples in the good data. But moving on to the overall of this video, we showed that imbalanced data sets are a real issue in machine learning, and that these methods can be used to fix them, although some of them are not perfect, and that some methods are actually better than others. So usually you kind of need to do trial and error. It's the only way really to figure out which way is best. So that will mark the end of the presentation, and thank you very much.